Good afternoon.
Good
The
afternoon.
Horry County Solid Waste Authority regular meeting for June 30th, 2015 will now come to order. May we bow our heads in prayer. Eternal and gracious God, our Heavenly Father, in the precious name of Jesus our Christ, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the privilege and opportunity now that we, our Father, might come together to conduct the business of the authority, that we, our Father, might make decisions on behalf of the people of Horry County, and that we, O God, shall move forward in the manner that you've directed. It's in Christ's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Dan Gray.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone should have a copy of the agenda. Are there any questions or concerns that relates to the agenda? None, we shall entertain a motion to adopt.
Second.
And properly moved and second that we approve the agenda for today's meeting. Questions? All those in favor make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Ayes have it. Our minutes, we have May 26, 2015 regular meeting. Any questions, concerns, or corrections? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I think a couple of my words may have been dropped out because I did not speak into the microphone like Esther urges us to do. On page, under committee reports, on the fourth page of the minutes, where I was asked about the legal aspect of the bid issue before the board, I would like to note that the Senate's staff attorney, Emma Ruth Britton, explained the difficult in defending. There's some words that should go in there, a potential claim brought by the company, picking back up with the company that was the responsive low bidder based on the qualifications. So there were a couple of words that apparently got cut out of the, as I was speaking, out of the
And that's
transcript. And that is on page 4,
under committee reports.
under Operations and Planning Committee meeting report. Right.
Okay. And that's May 26.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay, any other corrections? Any
Yes.
questions, concerns regarding the corrections?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on page 13, it looks like we've got a duplication of a paragraph there. Starts Ms. Creech.
Okay,
First one has the vote, the second one is not.
okay, corrections noted. Any other corrections for May 26? Okay, June 10th, corrections?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Not June 10th, sir. June 15th.
Jim? Okay, June 15th. 10th
I-
on the agenda says.
Okay, on page 4, statement for the record, before the executive session, the second sentence of that section, that we were going into executive session for the purpose of discussing it should be personnel matter instead of personal matter.
Okay, personnel. Any other corrections? Okay, you have copies of the minutes. You been brought to attention the corrections that are necessary. Are there any other corrections? If not, we'll entertain a motion that we approve the agenda with the necessary corrections. The minutes with the necessary corrections.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second that we approve the May 26, 2015 regular meeting minutes and the June 15 special meeting minutes with the necessary corrections. Questions? All in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Ayes have it, so ordered. Public input, Mr. Jim Galatino. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
That's correct.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for allowing me to come today and share our concerns in reference to the proposed gun range that could happen in your facility here. I'm a gun owner, I have nothing against gun ranges, and I'm a veteran, but just to voice some of our concerns from our community in Hillsborough and surrounding communities. We know that the county is looking to pave International Drive at a cost of probably tens of millions of dollars. It's going to happen. The completion of this project will stimulate significant business and residential development along that proposed new roadway and also on the Route 90 corridor between 22 and 501. Then it doesn't make sense to me, you're going to turn around and put a gun range right in the middle of this thing that could potentially kill the momentum of sales in the local communities, ours and others, that our local builders have stated that would definitely devastate what's going on right now in our areas. We have a lot of growth. The community is on a major upswing to build out. My concern is, does that make sense to do? Next, County Council just had a meeting and increased property taxes to all the Horry County residents. These taxes will primarily go for public safety to attack gang and drug problems in the county. However, no additional police officers were added to support this. Yet, we're going to spend approximately $1 million of taxpayer money at the local level. That money could put more than 20 officers on the street for a year. Does that make sense? The intended access road that borders the SWA property and the Hillsborough community, there's less than 200 feet between that access road and the Hillsborough community. That will allow an opportunity for more crime because it's going to be at night, it'll be abandoned, it'll be unlit, dark, and lots of opportunity for crime to happen. Does that make sense? The next thing is county council that we're working with cannot divorce Horry County from any type of litigation and liability that could happen at a gun range. Think about the possible accidents that could happen at a gun range. You can have people that end up with minor cuts and abrasions, eardrum ruptures from gunfire, burns from discharging shells. You could even have, unfortunately, death from an accidental shooting. Doesn't happen often. There's not a lot of history out there that talks about it, but it does happen on a regular basis at gun ranges. Whatever that liability is for these injuries will fall to Horry County. And eventually, it'll fall to the citizens through tax dollars. The last thing, we cannot forget about our veterans. Our community has a lot of veterans. Some of them suffer with PTSD. Okay? Those with PTSD, it's not uncommon for them to have their memories triggered by sounds, such as gunfire. And these triggers can bring back memories of trauma, cause intense emotional issues and physical issues with them. They have feelings of concern, they can have feelings of fear and helplessness. The shooting range will do that to them. Does that make sense? Why in the world would our county council want to get in the gun range business? That does not make sense. I'll be presenting, or others will be presenting at a county council meeting when it happens, when our opportunity comes up. We'll be presenting our petition. We have hundreds of signatures from our community and others. To have a gun range at any location where you can hear gunfire, where you can hear the gunfire, it will change the peacefulness and tranquility of that community. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Questions for me? Concerns?
Questions, comments from the board?
I don't have any questions, but I have the very same concerns you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, when Mr. Galantino came, I took him out to the site and told him that we had public input, that county council would probably have the last word on this issue, and that he needs to voice his concern here to us. We would pass that information on to the county council, and of course, I I think he's just told us he's going there also, so that's where we are.
Again, thank you very much for bringing those to our attention. Departmental reports and updates, recycling and corporate affairs. Ms. Murphy.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My report begins on page 18. Want to begin with a review, just an update on some improvements to one of our 24 recycling centers. Would you hit that, Cecil? One of our goals and objectives the last fiscal year were to make improvements, site improvements to our recycling centers. One of the more recent sites that received some improvement was the Cates Bay Recycling Center. We did a total repavement of that center to include the installation of some new concrete pads for various containers. The project overall took about 2 weeks. If you're ever in the neighborhood of Cates Bay, please take a minute or two to ride through there. I think the community really appreciates the efforts made in making these centers user-friendly, even with regard to their vehicles using the centers. Or if you any of the other centers. Tonight, when you leave here, if you have anything that you need to get rid of, drive through the landfill center. We've been recently working on that one, doing improvements there as well. Next update I want to give you is on our Clark Green Handed, our monthly program to recognize recyclers at recycling centers. The month of June, we went to the Mount Olive Recycling Center out in the Green Sea community and surprised Mr. Gary Blakely with being recognized as our Clark Green Handed recipient. It's you think about it, it's kind of shocking to have somebody walk up to you and say, "You've been caught." So initially, they're a little taken aback. But then when you give them a prize pack, everything's all better. So he was excited about being recognized in that fashion. There are 2 other things I just wanted to mention to you. The first, this week, July 4th, is on a Saturday. All recycling centers will be closed on July 4th. That is one holiday that is recognized, one of the 4 that is recognized where centers are actually closed. So centers will be closed on this Saturday, July 4th, in observance of the July 4th holiday. So go Friday, or hopefully Sunday. The other item I want to mention to you is that each of your place settings, you should have had a recycling guidebook. That's a recent publication that our public education staff put together with the assistance of South Carolina DHEC. It's, I believe, to be a very good publication. Includes all information regarding what programs and services that are offered at Solid Waste Authority, as well as the back page is perforated so that residents or businesses can tear it off, knowing what items are recyclable and which items are not. So you will see those. We're distributing them now everywhere and anywhere. If you need a handful for yourself to hand out, just let me know and I'll get you some. That will be all I have.
Any questions for Ms. Murphy? Thank you very much. Operations and planning, Mr. Hilling.
Good afternoon. My report begins on page 25. One thing, the July 4th holiday, the landfill will be open. We'll be doing our regular hours from 6 to 2:30, so we'll be available for our, commercial customers out there. We didn't change our schedule, so if you got a big load, bring it to us. We'll be out there and take it from you. So first thing is our Highway 90 appearance. I was asked last meeting about giving a year-end update for what we did out there on our pickup. We finished up the year 335 bags that we had off of Highway 90. Last year we did about 392. 335, that equates to a little over 5,000 pounds of the litter we picked up out there over the years. So, but we did drop down, so hopefully the more we keep it cleaned up, more people will throw less out there. And also, we're back doing our mowing scheduling out there too. So we did have one mowing thing where DOT went out there before we had a chance to pick it up. So some of the litter was a little bit scattered, but we got out there and got it. So we'll stay after that. Our Driver of the Month program, we didn't update last month. We had some other things going on. Our Driver of the Month for April was Melvin Wilson from Unlimited. We do have his picture in here and also a letter to his company. Last month, we have what we call a tag team. We had Johnny DeBlato and Oscar Rosales from Titan Construction. So again, their pictures are there. You can see them, and usually everybody likes to get nominated and get to have their picture put up at the Scale House. So that's they get kind of a thrill out of that, and I think a little proud when they come through there. And finally, the closure project. We are 99.9% done, I would say, out there. We would have been done last week. Of course, everybody knows about the test and all that, but we would have been done last week, but I think it was Wednesday we had about an inch of rain, and that really kind of threw us back. But our ditches are covered in. The only thing we really lack out there is seeding the perimeter ditch around the 30 acres, and then just a little bit of cleanup. King's taken out most of their equipment. Hopefully next week we'll have the seeding guy in here, and we'll get the report start put together, and then we'll have, maybe another 30 days DHEC come down and certify it. And we want to get that project done and kick off the piggyback, get it going as soon as possible. We're really excited about that project there. So that's kind of where we're at. Any questions?
King has already completed the punch list. Did you have a punch list for him? He's completed all that?
They worked on that the last 2 weeks. Yeah. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot. The CQA representative from Garrett and Moore, he was on them big time during the whole 14-month or so process out there. Paul Moore really did a fabulous job staying on them. And King worked really good with him. They said King was and Stephen Sellers was the best supervisor that they've ever had to work with on a construction project. So it was a really team effort, and I think that's why it looks so good out there. Next month, I should have some pictures. They didn't come in until just before the meeting, the flyover, and where you could see the whole 30 acres. So we'll try to bring them in here next meeting and let's see how good it's really nice and green out there.
Mr. Chairman, you were going to get a letter to King with what you just said about Stevens and
We can do that.
yeah.
We've offered if they needed a letter of recommendation, be glad to do it.
Well, I mean, just to let Paul King know what kind of people he's got out there. He knows, but it certainly would help.
We'll do it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Finance and Administration.
Good afternoon. The financial reports begin on page 39. We are now 11 months completed through the year. Of course, today is the last day of our fiscal year, so everybody's very excited. Tomorrow we start with a brand-new budget. No budget transfers, no worrying about money starting tomorrow. Now, by the end of the week, that may be a different scenario, but we'll start clean tomorrow. Everybody's excited. So, but through the end of May, we should be at about almost 92% of budget. As you can see right in the middle of that page, our solid waste is at 94% of budget, mixed construction at 98% of budget, and our yard waste is right at almost 93% of budget. So our tipping fees are right where they need to be, maybe a little bit above even. So we're looking good there. At the bottom of the page, you can see the recyclable sales are only at 73% of budget. And like I said, there again, that has to do with the prices. We have not seen any increase in those prices as of yet, but also no decreases. So right now, they have remained stable. At the bottom of the page, of course, the C&D processing facility through the end of May, we've saved 45 days of airspace. And with the MRF, we've saved 90 days of airspace. And Mr. Gray, you had asked me at the last meeting about the number of trucks that are going over to the C&D facility versus the ones that are going up on the hill. And year-to-date, we're seeing about 18% of the trucks coming in with C&D material are going over to the C&D facility, and about 82% are going up on the hill. We had 4,800 trucks approximately that went over to the C&D factory, and of those 4,800, 4,700 of them did receive the incentive. So all but maybe 100 loads, did qualify for the incentive. And the ones that went up on the hill, we had 23,000 trucks that went up on the hill. That's through the end of May. And what I think I'll do, there is that report that I put in there with the C&D facility showing what they recycle each month. I'm going to add that to the bottom of that report starting next month, so it'll be on there so that you can see how many trucks are going over there, how many trucks are getting the incentive each month. So we can track that, so that way that'll be in there each month for you to take a look at.
I ask her another question.
Yes.
I know, last month, when we were looking at, revenue versus expenses,
Yes, sir. On the C&D processing?
yes,
Yes, sir. That 98,000 is what we've sold from over there. It does not include the tipping fee that we collect. So with the tipping fee that we collect, the total revenue to do with the C&D processing facility is $287,454.
well, you got there before I asked the question, but in the future, even if you just have to hand me a slip of paper,
I can include, there's room for me to add that on there. I'll be more than happy to put that on this report.
what I'm looking for is, all the revenue,
Okay,
including the tipping fee, I understand about that, as well as what we were able to sell versus what it cost us. But then we can look at, how much we made or how much we're subsidizing,
okay.
in a similar fashion.
Right, and I have the difference there. I did calculate it for you just in case you needed to know. Like I said, with the revenue being the 287,454, the expenses being the 356,772, we're at a deficit of around 69,000.
After you add in the tipping.
Tipping fee, yes, sir.
Yeah, if you could, fix that so we don't have to, I'm kind of slow on ciphering. I've been out of school a long time. Then on the materials recycling, all the costs and all the revenues are on the same line.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Over on page 41 is our income statement. As you can see, month to date, revenues were over expenses by $64,000, and year to date, our revenues are currently over expenses by $660,244. Again, like I said, I can't thank staff enough for continuing to watch their expenses. Like I said, we're hitting our last month, so like I said, we feel very comfortable, of course, that we're going to finish in the black. Just one other, on page 45, I just wanted to kind of point out to you kind of where we are with our tonnage. As you can see, our solid waste over last year is an increase of 2.46%. Our yard waste, we're seeing a 20% decrease over last year. And our mixed construction, a 13% decrease. And like I said, remember, we had anticipated a decrease in the mixed construction, of course, due to flow control. We had anticipated about a 24% decrease over last year. So we have seen an increase, of course, in our C&D material. Are there any questions?
I have one that, I guess would be more for, our executive director, but Danny, it seems like I remember that our, assumption on, build-out was, an estimate of about 2% a year annual growth, annualized growth.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I recognize that when you throw into the fact that we're not getting the same amount of C&D that we used to or would have been there with that model, at some time when it's convenient, it might be good to look and see if our assumption needs to be changed or if it's okay. In other words, 2.5% over a 20 or 30 year period can, I mean, 0.5% can, as you know, make a lot of difference. I'm not saying that it needs to be adjusted, but perhaps you could take a look at it.
As long as our percentage is lower than we projected, that's just gonna extend
Right.
our life a lot further, but I understand what you're saying. And we
Well,
will,
I agree, lower, I was just concerned about up, and if we need to, advance the money, then we need to advance the money.
we're looking all the time, we'll take a look at that.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, special projects and governmental affairs.
Wanted to talk a little bit about the recycling incentive program. Looks like we've issued about $228,000 in MSW recycling incentive and about almost $59,000 in C&D recycling incentive. Year to date, we give $287,713 out. And our remaining budget left is about $47,000. So it looks like we will come up under budget somewhere, it's running about $26,000 to $27,000 a month. Of course, with the increase in MSW coming, it could bring it. So we think we'll come in somewhere close to about $20,000 under budget for the year. And also, I have notified all the MSW recycling incentive customers about the 30% decrease that we did in it this year. Hadn't got any major questions back. Everybody seemed to understand that we needed in order to try to help balance our budget a little bit. So we have notified all of those customers that's part of that program. Any questions on that? The other is, one of the things I wanted to sort of tell you about is we've had a few counties call us in reference to us accepting our recyclable materials from their counties from a period of anywhere from 3 months to 2 years. And we've been talking to them. They've asked until we can get the thing settled exactly how we do it, not necessarily call their name out until we can get it done, if we can get it done. And but want to make the board aware that we are talking with those counties, and that tonnage could very easily put in an additional between 3,000 and 4,000 tons a month in our facility. Currently, we're doing about 3,000 to 4,000 a month in our facility. Currently, we're doing about 1,830 on an average a month. So it would be a tremendous increase. And
Would you go through those numbers again?
if the deal if both of them, all the counties wanted us to take it, just called us, it'd be somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 tons a month increase. And currently we're doing about 1,830 a month. Our facility is well equipped to take that and operate with it.
Personnel-wise, too?
No, not personnel-wise. We would definitely have to increase some personnel cost. Or
What would the incentive be for us to do that?
Money.
that's cool. What kind of deal we could work out with them? You know, if we in the past when Republic brought it to us, they didn't want any share of the revenue or anything like that. So we haven't got that all settled down yet. So I don't know what the net impact will be, but I can assure you it would have to be something that would. I would never recommend anything that wouldn't make us money. So.
Well, I understand that, at least right now, commodity prices are down, so it would be harder to come out in the positive, just based on saleability of whatever we pull out. But I do remember Mr. Jones making a statement. It was enlightening to me. I hope I don't misquote you, Mr. Jones, but he said we got if I understood him correctly, a $12 million facility over there is operating at about 3/4 of a shift per day, and that what we needed to be doing was operating at 2 shifts per day. I may have misquoted you. And on that basis, not getting into the political aspects of receiving out-of-county waste, that's a whole.
It's out-of-county recyclables, not waste.
Out-of-county recyclables.
And we went in front of the county council when we started that several years ago, taking it from other places and got their approval on it.
well, county councils change every 2 years, and I'm sure you would go back before, after we said grace over, you would go back to them. But I don't necessarily have a concern about recyclables coming out of another county so long as we're making money at it, because based on what Mr. Jones enlightened me about, and based on the fact that we're down in revenues anyway, I think is a good thing to look at. And I understand the nature of the other counties that you're talking to probably don't want their names banded around. So,
Yeah, if we end up couldn't work something out with them to try to help them out during this period of time, I wouldn't want to put their name out there if we couldn't work out something with them.
I understand. Thank you.
You would just make sure that didn't go in the landfill.
Yes, ma'am. It would have to go to the recycling facility, because each one of those counties have their own landfill, so they wouldn't need it to go to the MRF. All the recyclables go to the MRF.
Okay. Occasionally, when you start recycling, you get things in there that you don't know you have.
Well, you're gonna get a percent. You get some residual coming out of it. I mean, there's no way not to stop that. Normally, it's a minimal amount, but we've kept it lower than the state average of all of ours. And that is part of any agreements you'd have with them, that they would have to keep it to a minimal.
I've heard Mr. Knight comment on that, Ms. Creech. He calls it the dregs. And I don't care whether it's our own C&D recycling facility or our own MRF. Anytime you're dealing with recyclables, there's a certain amount that will end up in the landfill. And Ms. Creech and I and others will ask the question, well, how much are we going to use up of our landfill capacity if we have this out-of-county recyclable coming?
Well, the one thing I'd like the board to remember, they're asking us to help them when they're in a crisis. It's not, they just need some help, temporary help, there was a time when our MRF burnt and we needed help from Charleston. So, that can go both ways. We might need help sometime too if ours was to go down. It'd be nice to have somebody we've helped to call on.
We got a long way to go, but I take your point. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've asked Steve to come and talk to us about International Drive, and basically what I want Steve to do is give us some kind of an overview. And then what I would request, we put this into committee, and then we can spend a couple hours out here with the committee and Steve's group, and we can go and look and ride and touch the situation and bring it back to the full board.
Thanks, Danny. I think we got some slides, maybe. For those of you who don't know, and I'm not sure there's anybody that doesn't know, we're trying to get permits to pave International Drive from Carolina Forest, which is down at the bottom of the photograph, up, and instead of going through that community and have a bad alignment on Highway 90, we've always proposed coming through Solid Waste Authority's 1187 acre tract and tying into Highway 90 at a perpendicular angle. For the next one.
Show them where the MRF is, Steve.
Right there, go back. Again, the solid waste authorities at the top. 187, that's MRF here. I think you can see it on the next sheet, on the next photograph. And then two more. Which one? The impact to the Solid Waste Authority, we're asking for a right-of-way easement to be donated to the county. It's 13 acres. It will take the place of environmental parkway and actually reduce the maintenance responsibility that the solid waste currently has on that road by about half a mile. An original alignment had a driveway accessing the MRF at one location due to some wetland issues. We shifted that over to the red. That you see there in the box, and that'll all be constructed as part of the International Drive. There'll also be a signalized intersection at Highway 90, which will improve safety for trucks traveling to the landfill or the MRF. That's the intersection at 90. You can't really see. It's a 4-lane section with divided median. And that's just a blow up of the area where we modified the alignment slightly to reduce some of the wetland impacts. That's it.
That's the what road?
That's 3R, that's the
3R,
going
okay.
to the MRF,
Okay.
President. And what, our road now will come to
Right.
International. We will still maintain
That
this
piece.
part. But they will maintain everything else, and we've moved the alignment over on, say, Highway 90,
We did
all
give
the
it,
way over to the property lines that would give us a lot or something along on that highway frontage.
That's it, right.
30 feet on each side.
That's right.
of the drive, so.
And that piece of the 3R driveway or environmental parkway is about a half a mile in length that we would take over maintenance responsibility. Y'all wouldn't have that responsibility any further.
Old road gets abandoned
Yes.
and the signal's on 90,
There will be a signalized intersection at Highway 90 and International Drive.
and just a stop sign at the new aligned road.
Yes.
Right. That'd be abandoned, right?
Putting a turn lane there, though, are we? Left turn lanes, if I'm coming from the beach. Coming from the beach, use the left-hand turn lane, you get the trucks out of the traffic to make this turn.
Is the red area the only area, that little short run there, is that the only area that we would have responsibility for maintenance on?
From here back unless you put the gun range out there, then, you turn right here and go down into the gun range. You come this, to take a left, and this is the MRF. And we would have an access out here if we ever had to, a hurricane or something like that.
Well, I mean, in terms of new maintenance, we're already maintaining that road.
We maintain the whole thing.
But actually, we'd be gaining in terms of maintenance, then, we wouldn't have to maintain some of.
We don't want to talk too much about gaining right now, with Steve here. You're right.
Well, while we're gaining, can't we get a couple of acres where it intersects with Highway 90? I mean, that'd be pretty valuable property.
You own that property already? That's ours. Yeah. That's part of the 1187 there.
Okay, well, we won't talk no more about gaining then.
We'll have some kind of highway frontage through there for the future to do.
How much land was it that you wanted us to give you to do that?
That right-of-way equates to about 13 and a quarter acres. Total acreage for the entire road is a little over 70 acres, from Carolina Forest to 90.
Might be very valuable acreage.
I'm sure that you think that.
Very valuable.
We hopefully are expecting the core permit by middle of next month. When we receive it, we've committed to advertising the project for construction within 30 days. And it'll probably be a 12-month to 18-month construction period.
Will that be a private contractor, or the county's gonna do that?
Private
themselves?
contract,
Private contract?
yes, sir.
That's what I was gonna say. You're gonna put that in committee for us to
Yes.
look at that
And we'll,
more.
whoever, how the committees line up, we'll contact the appropriate committee members, we'll set a date, anybody can come. We'll go out here and we'll park, and we can show you, we'll bush hog, the right-of-way has already been cut one time, and we can go ahead and bush hog that where you can really see the right-of-way better. And we'll answer and haggle around a little bit, and then we'll come back to the board for approval of whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Common consensus that goes to committee?
Yes.
Second. Common consensus doesn't require a motion. As long as everybody agrees. Okay, yes, sir.
Let me mention the piggyback. We are in the process of finalizing the contract with Southeast. We are going to add the gas system to it that we sent the alternate out on. And that total bid will be $9,367,571.20. We will bring all that back to you, but we're going to go ahead, get the contracts put in place where we can get the project started.
What was his price on the alternate? I know you added in that 9 million.
$122,000. $390.
$390.
The 122 comes from where?
That was the alternate that we took, the sealed alternate that we took on the contract.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. How much under the budget are we now coming in at? Sir?
13 million was the budget.
Budget's 13 million.
And
So,
and we're coming in at a total of what, 9?
9.4 and some change, but then we got to put the engineering costs and all that comes out of that 13 million too, so.
yeah, I think, that's 600,000, so that's gonna run it up to.
Around
over-
3 million,
Yeah, we under budget.
by about $3 million.
Sir?
We're under budget by almost 3 million.
Well, 9 plus 6 is, and this 100.
That's
is
9.6. That
10
would be
million,
9.6 out of 13.
plus the engineering.
No, the engineering is a part of the 9.6.
He's,
Excuse me,
It's part of the 13.
it's part of 13.
Well-
Engineering was how
Total
much?
right- The total right now that we have requested is around $10 million, and the budget is 13 million.
does that include engineering
Yes, it does.
and other soft costs? I mean, so the net all-in figure
Yep, that's everything so far that we,
Around 3 million.
$10 million.
is, this budget was 13, and you were able to bring it in, including engineering and other soft costs, and adding this addendum, still picking up 3 million on the budget.
That's correct.
Thank you.
But that money stays in that pot of money. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for the executive director?
That's all I have.
Committee reports, operation and planning.
Of course, we made our recommendation. The Operating Planning Committee recommended to the board that we accept the consulting engineer's value and recommend that we accepted it, and we did.
Okay, that was in June 10th.
Right, that was in the June 10th.
Okay, Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Administration Committee did meet on June the 10th. We got a update on GASB from Mr. David DeCleva from Smith Sap, just some new regulations and all. And then we had a good discussion about employee benefits, current employee benefits, and some recommendations, suggestions, and There was a lot of information presented by staff, and we also asked staff to go back and present a staffing model so we could have a good comparison to what is currently being done and what would be done if some changes were made. So we'll wait to hear back from staff. We didn't have any votes and no action was taken.
Okay. This committee did not meet, right? Yes, sir.
Question, Mr. Chairman, does not the recommendations or Operation Planning Committee need to go before the full board?
We did that on the special.
It did, was in a
board
special meeting, wasn't it?
Special
Okay.
meeting, yes, sir. That's already done.
It was done in a special meeting. Okay, Appeals Committee.
I'd like to ask Lance a question on
Yes, sir.
finance.
Sure.
And it's a little drawn out, and
Okay.
you might not be able to answer it fully today. But in state government, and right on down, we're a subdivision of South Carolina state government, as you know, all counties are. There's been an unrecognized liability to the tune of billions of dollars related to retirement. And our legislature, in its wisdom, has said, we need to do something to fix this. And then that comes right on down. We tend, as a body, we tend to mimic whatever state government or county government is doing. And I assume that, because you can get lost in all that GASB stuff that the guy brings over here. But I assume that what we're trying to do is to recognize any unfunded liability that we have related to retirement, and to put that into our current operating statement so that we start retiring or taking care of or paying for that unfunded liability. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, Jan, you might want to address that. Actually, it's a little different.
It is a little different. It's not anything that we have to fund. It is our portion of the retirement liability. But it's not anything, we currently fund on an annual basis as we're required to. But this is a liability that will be recorded, but is not what we will actually be, we won't be required to fund it.
Well, if that's our liability, who's going to pay for it?
It's a future, liability. It's for future retirement. And the state's requiring everybody to record their portion of that liability. GASB's requiring, that's right.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Then we have to pay our portion at some point in time, right?
We do throughout the years, yes, sir. I mean,
We do
it's
what?
nothing- we will throughout the years, but it's nothing that we will fund as of, different than OPEB. Like I said, we made the choice to fund OPEB, where this is not something that we can fund.
Yeah, I don't mean it's a bullet payment that we got to pay next year. I just mean that I'm asking, does this mean that we're using prudent and using reasonable judgment rules? If you got unfunded liability, there's no need to leave it out there for somebody else to come up with the money for. You're supposed to be responsible and start taking care of that now. And so I presume that going forward, some amount of our available cash will be devoted to taking care of this previously unfunded liability. Am I under?
It's really just an accounting procedure. It's no
Exactly.
difference in the way that we operate, and no different financial impact to us.
Has no financial
It's
impact
just the way that it's recognized on the
on our
books.
books. Yes, sir.
So it's much ado about nothing?
That, you're pretty much right. Yes, sir.
Well, Shakespeare said that. I guess nothing changes.
No, sir. You'll just see it recorded on our books. That's exactly right.
Pam, you're a lot smarter than me. Is that the gospel? We don't have to.
I don't think there's any gospel where state decides to do anything. But I had some of the same questions you did when we had the gentleman here explaining that. And it came down to about the only thing I could wrap my head around is that the state didn't used to have to own any of that.
Right.
And through Gatsby, now they have to own it, and they have to say what they owe, even though they say they're not responsible for it, or we're not responsible for it, and I agree with you. If I have to say that, and it's a bill I have, I think I should set money aside and be responsible for it. But the last word was, we may never have to pay that. So, I'm not sure it's prudent or reasonable in any manner whatsoever to understand. But that's the way the state does it, and that's the way they told us to look at it, and they told us to put the liability on our books, even though we may never pay it.
Well, if I was a retiree, person, I would sure be hoping that the state then, has enough money when it comes time to write my check. But then you're saying there ain't nothing we can do about that.
That's exactly right, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We went round and round about that in the Finance Committee. I've the same thought you are.
Thank you, Jen.
Any recommendations from the committee at this time? No recommendation from the committee?
Finance Administration?
Right.
No, sir, we'll just wait to hear back from staff on some recommendations on potential and possible changes in employee benefits.
Okay. Appeals Committee?
We didn't meet.
Appeals Committee did not meet? Okay. Old Business Food Waste Composting Update?
All right, food waste composting. We're ready to start tomorrow. So just kind of want to bring you up to date on some things out there. We've put our plan together. We're going to do it Monday through Friday from 8 to 3. And the reason we have to shut it down at 3 o'clock, this material has to be covered every day. It's just like solid waste out there. So we've got to have time to cover it and get it incorporated into our windrows out there. We're looking at charging a tipping fee of $21.75. That's when you come through the gate out here, scale house, and when you go through there. We are going to have our misrepresented load fee on there that we charge $150. We're going to have a 90-day grace period. As people bring it in, we're going to give everybody about 90 days to get accustomed to what we're doing out there. We did meet with Smart Recycle about 2 weeks ago on a Friday. They got a sales representative they're going to have going around to the bigger grocery stores and the schools and the college, trying to, drum up good business like that, the food waste that people really want to get in on the plan there. We've got a lot of signage together. I asked Stephanie Todd, she came in, she's done a heck of a good job putting these signs together. We have to label our rows out there. People come out there, that tells you what you can put in there and what you can't. And so that's gonna be mounted out there, and people come through, they'll know exactly what they can put in. We're also sending a letter out similar to the one in your board book here, and also you also saw this right here is on a separate 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Those are all going out tomorrow to our customers out there. So everybody will be fully aware of what you can bring in. And we've met with, like I said, with Smart Recycle and other folks that have come in. So they'll know this is what they can put in there. Don't put this in there. So it'll be another thing that's inspected every month by DHEC. So we've got to be spot on with what we do out there. So she did a heck of a good job with them. I've got to give her a lot of credit for the hard work she put into the signs there. So just
Bill, what's been the feedback from the school district or any of the hotels, the Hospitality Association? Has been any?
I know Esther has spoken with the schools, and I think they really want to jump on the program. I think it's a matter of transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to come down, and that's why Smart Recycle, they'll have a route to go around, pick it up, and bring it to us. So I think as they're out there contacting, building their route up and all that the food will increase. But I think that's the biggest challenge right now is getting it here.
What kind of rates would they have? You have any idea?
I really don't. I'm sure they'll take like our disposal rate and then whatever their
Back into it.
transportation, whatever they need to run their route on. Because they're not going to do it, as a goodwill. They're
Right.
they're a private
It's gotta-
company and they're going to
gotta be
make a profit.
Beneficial to everybody.
Right. We do have a recommendation in there that we need board's approval. Staff's recommended board of directors approve the tipping fee of $21.75 for food waste. Compost and disposal, also staff is recommending a retail price of $30 a ton, and we're calling this our enhanced compost. with the food waste in there.
And is this a price for a set period of time, or is this flexible to be adjusted on the fly if necessary, or are you locked into this for a period of time?
This is our, best I can tell you, this would be our starting numbers right here. Putting our costs together, really about $30 a ton going out the gate, with the 21 coming in the gate. It's pretty much a break even on the cost figures I've put together.
It's just gonna break even?
To begin with, yes, ma'am. But we're always open
Why?
to your suggestions.
Go right ahead.
Why? I mean, why are you starting out at a break-even point? As a business, it's tough enough to make money when you're trying to make money. If you start out breaking even, ain't much hope.
Let me try to answer that. We have,
All right?
we felt like we had to offer an incentive, just as we did on the C&D recycling, just as we've offered an incentive at the MRF off the big gate. And we're going to rely on the private haulers to make this program work. We've got a place that can bring it. But it's not just one hauler that we've talked to. We've talked to 3 or 4 different haulers. I think there's gonna be some competition there. This compost is more than a regular compost. As Bill said, he's calling this our enhanced compost. And we'll have to see what the market does. I mean, if there's a big demand for it, then we may look at the price, but this is starting point. And ever how much we can keep out of the landfill, and it goes into this composting thing, we're saving airspace, just as we're saving airspace at the C&D factory. And we're a little bit under the profit level there, but it's picking up. More people is learning to take stuff there, so that's a learning experience too. Our glass is going out now. We don't have any glass. Most time we run out of glass because that market is picked up, and it's not a commercial side as much as it is homeowners and landscapers and people that started using that side instead of the big product we're looking at, sandblasting and stuff like that. It's more garden club type situation, but that's where we are. That'd be our recommendations.
And this
as a
is without,
starting point.
this is without adding another employee, correct?
No employees right now.
Okay, so in other words, if we have to add any, that rate's definitely gonna have to go up.
Then we'll have to take a look at it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And we are using present equipment that we have.
Yes, sir.
We didn't add any equipment, new equipment.
No, sir, not at this time.
Other questions for Mr. Hilling?
Had any of the
Great job.
any of the haulers mentioned to you that you looking for start receiving tomorrow? You think we're gonna have some come in
No,
tomorrow?
but we'll be ready if they
Yeah, but I
do.
mean, have any of them said that they gonna start hauling to us, or they just
No,
haven't
not
set up
yet.
their routes? And
I think they're trying to get out there and, drum up the business and get their routes established. I think, the one we talked to, I think that Smart Mike, didn't they say maybe August, they felt like, probably before they got anything in here, to establish a route. And they're gonna have to get, a certain number of customers to make it profitable for them to run out there also.
And in talking with these people, we've learned that, and we've learned this in other recycling programs, that if a corporate organization believes in recycling, and there's a business here in that corporation, all they do is say do it. And we found and heard that the same situation with a lot of the big box stores. Now, if they offer it within so many miles, then we're gonna do it with someone. And we've talked, like I said, we've talked 2 or 3 that's into this already. They're not new to it. They're big in and around Charleston and some of the other cities. So we're relying on the private side to step up and get the market really started.
Other questions? Heard the recommend. Yes, sir.
Just to add a little levity, without Pam, we wouldn't be where we are. And, I understand it's not ants, it's worms, isn't it, that we get? But anyway, call it Pam's Crunch or Creech Mulch or something like that. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, I haven't picked a name yet. Thank you, Dan. I think Bugs and Bunny baskets would probably work pretty good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Any further serious questions or comments? You've heard the recommendation from staff. What's your disposition?
Second.
Been properly moved and second that we accept staff's recommendations regarding the food waste composting disposal. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposes? Ayes have it, so ordered. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
New business, roundtable discussion. Board members, yes, Ms. Creech. Ms. Creech?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
He looked at me and called your name. That's a bad thing to do.
Uh-oh. I need some more makeup now.
You do that, he can get both of us.
Just a question, I don't know if this is old or new, but did we ever get a statement from Mr. Gosnell about the discussion on the operation?
Yes, we
special
did,
meeting?
and I meant to bring that tonight, but Steve, you want to speak to your letter?
I just reviewed the information and concurred with the recommendation that Mr. Vance was, offered the board. I would support his recommendation.
Okay, so you do agree? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, you were not here at the special meeting, I don't believe, but we had talked about the test that they couldn't run because of the water, and I asked Mr. Gosnell, since he was here for the county, to kind of look at the information and make sure that he agreed with us before we decided not to have that test, and he says he agrees.
Understand, thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Fleet, Mr. Norfleet.
Thank you, sir. It's my belief that we have a question in our bidding process that needs to be answered one way or the other, either up or down, as to whether or not the Solid Waste Authority needs a local preference. Local preference considered in the bid, as Santee Cooper, the county, Grand Strand Water and Sewer, and other people have. So what I would like to do is make a motion that we ask staff to research this, look and see what the other people have, and bring the information back to the board.
Second. I second.
Probably moved in second that we request staff to look into the local bid preference from other agencies that do that, and then bring back a recommendation to the board. Questions?
Ms. Bidding, you in the process of doing some of that, aren't you?
Further questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Several. One is, might be tooting my own horn a little bit, but I am finishing my 4th year on this board. It has been interesting, and it was an odyssey getting here. And unfortunately for me, it was the same odyssey getting reappointed. But I did receive a unanimous vote from county council 4 years ago. And I received a unanimous vote from county council most recently. I'm very gratified by that. And I appreciate the one congratulatory note I got from a staff member and the one congratulatory note that I got from a board member. But I assure you, I look forward to being a part of this board for the next 4 years. Joseph Conrad wrote a book about being 2 years before the mast that made him a man. I've had 4 years of being before the mast, and I look forward to being a contributing member. The other thing that I would ask is that when we have board members who come to a committee meeting, that out of respect and maybe out of recognition of a handicap, that board member be allowed to sit at the table. I think everyone knows that I have a hearing difficulty. It's a handicap I wish I didn't have, but I'm like St. Paul, it's a thorn in my side. I attended one of the special committee meetings recently, and Bill stood up at the podium and he was talking towards the board. I didn't understand a word he said, and yet I sat here with all I wanted to do was learn. And I know that county council does this if they have, and other bodies do, if they have a non-committee member but a board member, out of courtesy. The board member, the committee board member knows that he or she can't vote or speak, but they can just listen and be a part of what's going on. And I think that we should change our policy in that regard. I don't say pay them money or pay them mileage, but if they're here, we might as well let them sit around the table. Those are my 2 comments, sir.
Any other comments? You need to pull out your calendars. The WasteCon,
Motion is second on the floor.
You have a motion and
sorry.
a second on the floor, sir.
I'm sorry, back me up. That motion,
The motion was for council to look, for staff to look
Right.
in and bring us back the information on.
okay. Previous question, all those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Ayes have it, so ordered. Any other items for roundtable discussion? On your calendars, the WasteCon meeting in Florida is set for August 24th to the 27th, of which I'm certain there's some staff members and possibly board members who will be attending. It falls during the same week as your August board meeting. August board meeting is scheduled for August 25th. Y'all need to look at calendar to see which date you want to hold your meeting. Possibly the week before, August 18. Any objections to that date?
I'm sorry. I do intend to go to Orlando, and you were saying that we have
Your board meeting is scheduled for the 25th, which is right in the middle of that conference.
yes, sir,
So you'll need to move your board meeting.
move the board meeting to the 18th.
Yes, that's what's being recommended.
That's fine with me.
Okay?
Is that the same time, 5:30?
Whichever time it's been recommended, 3:30 or 5:30, whichever one you choose.
Well, Ms.
5:30.
Creek,
5:30 works better for
Yeah.
me.
5:30. 5:30.
You'll just have to miss county council, Ms. Creech.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Any other roundtable discussion items? Executive session, we need to handle one matter in executive session, personnel matter.
Mr. Chair, it would be appropriate to entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing a personnel matter.
So moved.
Second.
Probably moved in second that we go into executive session to handle a personnel matter. Questions? All those in favor make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Ayes have it, so ordered. We'll go into executive session. Tell Campbell to flirt later. Okay, Mr. Attorney.
All right?
You know, motion to come out of executive session.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
moved.
All right. And a second?
Second.
And properly moved in second that we come out of executive session. All in favor, make it known by saying aye.
And Mr. Chairman, please let the record reflect that no action was taken in executive session and no votes were made, no action taken.
Okay, as a result of our discussion in the executive session, we are recommending that the executive director's raise for the year be calculated in the same manner and in the same percentage as staff.
I move we accept that recommendation.
And probably moved in second that we give the executive director a raise with the same method and percentage as done by the rest of staff. Comes to a question. Be prepared to vote. All in favor, make a motion by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Ayes have it, so ordered.
And Mr. Chairman, if the record would reflect that the personnel matter was the only matter discussed in the executive session.
Okay, thank you very much. This concludes our regular monthly meeting for the month of June. We're going, if there are no other items, then we're going to declare this meeting adjourned. We're going to take about a 7-minute break, and then we'll move into our annual meeting. Any objections? Chair recognizes none.